All right, well, welcome back to Dye Studio Designs. I am working on this project. It's part of my series of projects where I am fixing things that didn't work out the first time. This is one of the things that I made out of air dry clay. It was one of the first things I ever made with any kind of clay, period. So I was playing with this and experimenting. And as I was playing with it, I realized this would make a really cool, yeah, not a hat, but a lid, a roof for this clay bottle that I had made. And this is in another video or another part to this video where I salvaged this one, because this was another one of the projects that I did before I really knew what I was doing with clay, and I was just playing with it and experimenting. And I went back and in this recent series and fixed some of the things that were wrong with this to get it to a point where I liked it, where I felt I could put some paint on it and use it as decor in my home. So this is going to be the roof. This is going to be the roof, if I can get it on there for you. I'll give you an idea of what that's going to look like. But before it can be a roof, it needs to be fixed. So when I was playing with this originally, I had a good vision in mind, but I only put 2 layers of thatching, and it's not really, it looks odd and it's not really realistic. So in this this tutorial, it's not a tutorial, but in this blog series, I'm going to add some thatching. I think I'm going to add a row up top here over this and blend it in with this point. But I'm also, and this is going to be the tricky part, I would like to add in another layer of thatch here. And the tricky part is going to be how to blend it into what's already here on this line here. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but I will do my best. And you will follow along with me to see, how it works. And, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If it doesn't, then I'll just go over the whole thing again and redo it, do something else with it. But yeah, that's going to be this video. And also I need to do the underneath, so I need to really clean this up. This needs to be sanded down, smoothed, just cleaned up. I had put these marks here. I'm not real quite sure where I was going with that idea, because that has nothing to do with the thatched roof. But it was playing, and I had never used clay before, so this time around I'm going to go in and I'm going to clean it up. There's some cracks in here. I think I'd like to blend in a bit and smooth this, just smooth the inside really, and clean up these ragged edges that are here. Other than that, there's nothing to do with the inside there. But the main event is going to be just adding in 2 rows of thatching here. And so we'll see how that goes. And I will get started in the next part of this video. All right, so off camera, I did half of the bottom of this. So I don't know if it picks it up on camera, but this part of it over here, and you can kind of see that it's still kind of wet and drying, is much smoother than this part over here. So the goal for this section of the video is to clean this part up as well. So how I did that was I sort of dampened this clay, the surface of this clay over here, with water, and really smoothed it around with my finger and got it to the point where I could use a file and some sandpaper and just go in there and get all these, as much of these marks out as possible, and sort of clean up this mess here. So that's going to be the goal. And then once we do that, and then there's still one crack over here that I'd like to fill with maybe a little bit of slip, clay slip. And maybe that'll fill that, and then I'll just kind of smooth it out. Hopefully I can blend it in. And then the underneath of this will be finished. And then we'll move on to the top part of this. So let's do this. Let's get this done. This should be a quick process. I have my water here. And I'm just going to go in here with my finger and literally just rub water all over the inside here where I want to clean things up. And around the edges, I just kind of, I don't want to saturate it, like make it completely soaking wet, but I need the surface to be soft enough that I can go in here and do a little bit of sanding. Now I could sand it while it's dry. That is definitely a technique that you can use. However, what I will say is that that irritates my throat. If I'm trying to do a video, it's going to be rather difficult to do if I'm trying to wear a mask to avoid the dust, because there will be a lot of dust. So I have found that wetting it first, dampening the clay first, and doing like a damp sand is a lot safer for me in terms of cleaning things up. All right, so let's just kind of go in here and like really kind of press your finger into the surface and really kind of move it around. Now it's not going to remold it. It's not wet enough to do that, and that's not what I'm going for. I just need it to be soft enough that I can go in here and do the next step. I think we're just about there. All right, I think that'll do. Now, what I want to do next, I'm going to kind of take this sandpaper and do just a general wet sand of the inside. And it's just going to do a general smoothing of the surface. All right, and maybe if I want to, I can just go in there with a little bit more water just to kind of further smooth it out and clean up any clumps, any pieces of clay that might have been left behind by the sanding. So now what I want to do is clean up these edges, and I'm going to use something a little bit more tactical to do that. And it's soft enough, as you can see, that it just sort of, you can just sort of do that. So what I might do is just go ahead and do some strategic. Now I know, I'm already aware that I'm not going to make this a perfect piece. The goal is to just fix it, make it better than it was. And there's going to be things about it that are going to be imperfect. And you know what? That's okay, because this is a fairy project, is it not? So this is going to be a roof to a fairy house. So it doesn't matter if it's not perfect. But I just wanted to clean up the sloppiness that's underneath, because that really bothered me, that was so sloppy. And I'm just working my way around, getting as much cleaned up as I can. Also being careful not to overdo it. But I do want to get as much cleaned up as possible. All right, so it's not as crazy. It's not as crazy jagged, and I'm gonna go ahead and smooth out anywhere where I see clay. Pieces of clay that might be sticking out. So we just want to go ahead with our finger and clean that up. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of water. Just to smooth things out. Again, I'm not looking to make it look perfect. That ship has sailed. It's not going to be perfect. But cleaned up and not as sloppy. That's what I'm going for. And I think we did it. It's much smoother now. I don't have all these jagged pieces that look unfinished. And this can look lumpy and bumpy because it's a fairy roof, and you know, who knows what they used to build a roof, right? They might have used mud or something to build that roof. Yeah? And I would say that works pretty well. Then they put their thatch on top of that mud, and they have their fairy roof. So that's what we're going for. Now, I did say that I wanted to fill this crack just a little bit. Let me move this water. Let me bring my slip over here. The slip, again, is just bits of wet clay, or I added a bunch of water to it to make it like mortar paste. And let's see if we can fill that crack with it. Again, it's not going to be perfect. Well, let's see what we can do with that. All right, maybe add just a little bit of water to smooth it out. And there's another crack here too that I want to get to. I don't know if you can see, but it's like an L shape. There's a crack here and a crack here. So I think we just got them both. All right, so there we go. So in just a couple of minutes, I kind of cleaned that up. There's still lumps and bumps in it. Again, if I wanted to sit here and file all day and stuff and make it perfect, I could do that. You just repeat, rinse and repeat, do the same thing. You soften it, file it, smooth it with some water, file it, smooth it with some water. You know, you just follow the process until you get it to what you want it to look like, or whatever aspect you want to fix. All right, so that's the underneath taken care of. I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then when I come back, we're going to flip this over, and we're going to start putting in 2 layers of thatch, or at least we're going to attempt to. Okay, I'll see you when we come back. All right, so I did the bottom. I did end up just sanding it just a little bit more, just to smooth it out just a little bit more. But the bottom is basically dry. And you can see how smooth it is and how much cleaner. And once this clay really dries, you won't see so much of these imperfections. And it'll be underneath anyway. So I decided to do a little experimenting off camera, and I started doing some of the roof, the top part of the roof thatch. So what I had done was I drew a line somewhere in here. I lost the line. Here it is. The line is here, and I don't know if you can see that in pencil, but I'm just trying to get the edge of my new clay to this line, and then I'm trying to just sort of blend it in. So I already started the process. Like I said, I rolled some clay in between two popsicle sticks to get it to the width that I wanted. And then I took that and I broke it and cut it in half, so I have strips that are roughly this size. And then what I did was I roughed up one side of it. Okay, and then decide where I'm going to put it. So I think the next place I'm going to put it is here, next to the one I already did. And I texturized it already. I'll show you what I did there. But we need to wet this area where it's going. We need to add some water to that. And like normally you would use like slip or something like that, clay slip, to piece it together, but the issue is that there's already a lot of cracks and crevices and stuff in here, so I'm not really going to go too far with that. So if I wet this side and I wet this side where I have it all beat up, and then I should theoretically be able to just feed this in. So I'm going to lay it down next to the one that I already did. And we're going to just shape it just a little bit. And then we're just going to push it up and around. And right now I'm just looking to create a cohesion or adhesion to the surface. And I'll worry about the details in a moment. But I just want to make sure that the clay itself ends up really stuck to the surface. So I'm pushing up and around because that's how I did the original shape. Up and around, and maybe squeeze it out a little bit. I'm going to add some water around the edges to really kind of make sure that that blends in and grabs a hold of the surface under it. Now again, I'm a novice at this, so I'm kind of, part of it I'm experimenting as I go, and then I show you what I've done off camera or on camera. So I think I'm going to roll out another bit of clay before I do that. I'm going to show you, I just took the end of one of these and I'm following the lines that I already created for the texture. I'm just sort of following those lines that I had already created to try and get it to blend in. Hopefully this works out. If it does work out, you'll see this. If it doesn't work out, you won't see this. That's how this is going to go today. So if you're seeing this, it means it worked out. All right, so spoiler alert. So I'm not going to go too far with this because I got to add more clay next to this. But I want to be mindful of the direction of the spiral that I had created. All right, I'm not going to texturize this because I'm going to roll out a little bit more clay to add to that. All right. And we are just going to knead it. All right, we're just going to get it to a point where I feel good about the texture of it, and then I'm going to roll it in between these two. So these two are going to act like a barrier, and they're going to set the width or the thickness of it. So I'm using my bottle to roll. And I think I got it where I need it to be. And we're going to take this and we're going to cut the size that I need for my strips. I think I'm going to need 2 more strips, I'm guesstimating. So I'm just going to cut off anything I don't want. And then I'm going to take this and cut it in half. And I'm going to use my little tool and texturize this, both of them. All right, let's see where we can take this. All right, now I'm going to continue to wet the surface. And I'm just being generous. I'm just going all the way around the surface. And then I'm going to wet this piece of clay here. And then we're going to set it. Set it in place. So put it right next to where I had started the other one. And then we're just going to start pushing the clay into place. Anything I don't need, I'm just going to remove. If bits break off and I don't need them, I'll just remove them. All right, so I'm just looking for adhesion right now and pushing on it so that there's no air bubbles underneath. I'm just pushing it up and around to kind of follow that peak. And I think while I'm at it, I'm just going to do this last piece as well. And that way I can get the whole thing done and just go ahead and shape the whole thing. This last little piece in here. Any gaps that I feel like we can push down so we can fill in any gaps between the pieces. Go along the seams between the pieces where you added them to smooth them so you don't see the seams. Push up and around and down and out. And so I think I may have added a little too much here. So I'm just going to remove the wet clay before it really sets. And I seem to have an empty space here, so that means I'm going to need more clay here. I'm just going to take a couple pieces that I already cut. Prep those so that they stick. actually just do this, because at the end of the day, I'm going to create the texture I want. All right, and we're going to smooth this out. All right, let's get some water on that. Hopefully this isn't going to be too much of an issue. I just went a little bit too far down. I didn't really want to go that far down. But it looks like we're doing all right here. Now I'm going to have to retexturize the place where I started, but that's okay. All right, now let me get a paper towel. And now we're just going to take our tool and we're just going to, it doesn't really matter what. So I'm thinking I want to make sure that I follow this kind of same curvy situation that I created when I first did the thatch. So it's going to be kind of a windy texture, it's like they wrapped it around or something. Pay attention to the edges here so that they look frayed, like there's pieces of grass or whatever it is that the fairies use to build this thing. What do you think they would have used? Maybe pieces of stems and grass, or maybe they stole some stuff from the farmer's farm, you know, as fairies do. All right, so it's a little more complicated because we're going round and round. And I'll probably do some touch-ups off camera so I can pay attention to some details. But basically you get the idea. We added a layer of thatch on top of what was there, and that was kind of the idea to do that. And I'm just going to let that set for a few and see what I think of the end result. And I will be back. And then when we come back, I'm going to attempt to do this, add a layer in here, and this is going to be really tricky. But I have an idea of how to do it, and I'll share that with you as we go. So I will be back shortly. All right, so we're going to give this a shot. I rolled out some clay, and as you can see, I drew a line here where I wanted the end of my clay to be. So the idea here, I don't want to add pieces of clay all the way up to this because then it'll blend into that, and then you won't necessarily understand visually that it is another layer. So my idea, and you're going along for the ride with this one, my idea is to cut strips of clay and kind of lay them lower than that break there, and see if I can blend them into what's underneath in a way that makes it look like this edge is raised and this edge disappears into what's underneath. That is the game plan, guys. Let's see if we can pull that off at all. So when I'm pushing my clay, I'm going to push that way so that I can blend it, because I want this side to not be blended. Obviously, I want this to look like edges. And I'm just cutting strips of clay that I can just lay down along that edge. And push the clay up. Now I am going to have to be mindful of where this clay goes, because I don't want it to create problems with the layer on top. And so we're just going to keep doing this all the way around. And I'm going to add a lot of water probably, because I really want to be able to blend this. The hope is that I can blend it in enough that you can't tell that I added it. That is the hope. I'll see how that goes, right? And this is just a project with me trying to fix things that I already created. And we do want that, we don't want that to be a blunt end. Well, it won't be a blunt end anyway by the time I'm done, but we do want adhesion, so we want to make sure we're pushing down on the clay so it gets down into the grooves of the stuff that's under it. So let's cut another strip about the same width. And I'm literally just, I'm working in sections, so if I screw something up, I have a better chance of fixing it. Okay, I'm gonna grab this long one first, and I'm gonna add some, whoops, I'm trying not to grab the things that I already worked on. That's still wet. I am trying to work reasonably fast though, because I don't want the clay to start setting too much before I'm ready to put the texture in it. Although this is air dry clay, it doesn't set right away. So you have a good amount of leeway in terms of time. I just want to make sure that everything is the same. So what I think I'm going to do, I'll do this little piece on camera, and then I'm going to finish adding these pieces off camera, and then I'm going to come back and we'll do the next part of it, which will just be me texturizing and blending anything else that needs blending. Okay, so I think this is what I'm doing all the way across. I'm just trying to see if I can blend this. Again, I'm a novice with this stuff. Never really did a lot of sculpture before. So we're going to see how this goes. All right, let me turn off the camera for a minute, so I can finish laying the strips around and blending them in, and then we'll come back and we'll sort of start texturizing and start seeing if it's coming together visually. All right, so I got all the strips down that I wanted. Now I'm just going ahead and I'm smoothing everything out with water, just giving it that one last chance to blend in and adhere to what's under it. And now what I'm going to do is take my tool and I'm going to start texturizing. Let me fix, there was something up here I wanted to fix because I put my fingers in it. Okay, I accidentally grabbed that, so I want to fix it. All right, so now I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to use my tool. I'm starting above where I placed the strips, and I'm going all the way to the edge. All the way to the edge. And I do suspect you will be able to see a little bit of the line where I added, but I don't think in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's going to make that much difference. So I'm just making grooves basically, and those grooves are going to make it look like, it's thatched. And again, this is very forgiving kind of a design here because the area houses don't have to be perfect. So if you're chasing perfection and you're trying to learn how to not do that, this is a perfect project to do that with. And maybe don't make them all totally straight either. I gotta throw something in there that's a little off kilter every so often because, you know, thatch roofs aren't perfect. So while you're adding in your grooves, keep that in mind. All right. So I'm not sure what I think of it at the moment. Not totally sure. But ideally this should have been done as I was making it the first time. But we'll see how well we were able to salvage this project, because that's what this video is about today. It's just me trying to salvage a project, right? The best I can with the skills I have currently. I'll probably look at this a year from now and facepalm. But anyway, so I'm going to try and maybe clean up, make sure there's no excess clay down here. I don't want that to be too messy there. Get all the excess clay and water off that part of it. And then I will show you what we've done. All right. So There we go. It's not as evenly spaced as I had hoped I would do with it. But again, not supposed to be perfect. So when this dries, I will come back, turn the camera back on, I'll do a clip of it, and I'll show you this and the underneath, and we'll assess how this project went. So we'll be back when this sets up a bit more. Okay, well, the clay dried. It's not totally dry yet, but it's dried enough that you can see the end result. And give it a little turn. I think we did okay. I mean, had I done this properly from the get-go, maybe this would have been better spaced. But having said that, what we're working towards is a whimsical roof, a whimsical thatched roof to go on this bottle. So, like that. And I think we accomplished that. So we cleaned up the inside, so it's much smoother, still kind of rustic. And we sort of added a couple of clay layers to this, so I think we salvaged this roof so that I can use it with this clay bottle that I made. So the next step for both of these will be to paint them and give them some varnish and make them look like proper pieces of decor for probably for my dining room. So that'll probably be the next series that I will do, where I will paint these and some mushrooms that I made, and we'll create something kind of magical from my house. I'm not selling these. This is just projects that I'm working on my own. So let me know what you think of, I'll see if I can remember to link this project. This is a different video where I fixed this bottle, some of the details on this. But let me know what you think about this project. If you have any tips or tricks to share, please share them in the comments section. Give it a like, give it a subscribe, give it a share, give it a comment. That helps push my growing little channel like this close to being able to monetize. So that would be amazing if I could do that. So that'll be it for today. Again, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that stuff. And until next time, happy creating.